Would you be the jerk for answering the door wearing a spicy costume? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk if I don't want to go on vacation with my friends because they try to micromanage the expenses? I, 30-year-old male, have a group of 5 friends from university who are around the same age as me. For the past 2 years, we've gone on vacation together, first to Mexico and then last year to Egypt. We've always had a great time and we get along well. However, when it comes to sharing costs, I find myself struggling. It's not the group that has an issue, it's me who has the problem. To provide some context, we all met at university 9 years ago and have been working for the last 5 years. Our university was ranked number 1 in the country at the time, though I no longer keep track of the rankings, and we all landed jobs just a month after graduation. I mention this to illustrate that we're all financially secure. I know for a fact that each of us earns between 80,000 euros and 100,000 annually. In terms of vacation costs, I typically spend around $3,000 for each trip, which is more than my friends spend since I'm more comfortable with spending. Additionally, I'm aware that the vacation money we receive amounts to at least double what any of them has spent on these trips. So this is the problem that I have. Every night they ask for a check, start checking off items for everyone, and then make that person pay exactly that amount. To me, that's embarrassing. Getting nasty looks from the waitress who doesn't make in a day what these people make in an hour, waiting there for 10 to 15 minutes while they argue about who had what, and then starting to count bills and coins to pay. I suggested we split the bill 5 ways, but they don't want to do that. They've mentioned that I'm the only one who drinks alcohol with dinner and that it's not fair if they have to pay extra for it. We're talking about maybe 2 euros. I even offer to pay more, but they still refused because some are not big eaters and don't think they should pay extra for others. It's 4 versus 1. To make matters worse, they spend every night comparing Uber bills because maybe I paid a couple euros less for the ride. So now they're planning a trip for this year, and it could be the last one as some of them want to start families. But I'm thinking of saying no, I can't do this anymore. I enjoy our trips, but getting a pay request of 3 euros because I had a couple of glasses of rum someone else paid for at our hotel just messes with my mood. But I'm also the only one who has a problem with this, and I want to ask if I'm the jerk or if this is just a really strange way to handle finances. So personally, I have multiple trains of thought with this story. First of all, if you're going into this meal and you know that they're probably going to want to divide all this stuff, I think it would be important to go into said restaurant or whatever with that knowledge and tell the waitress you want X amount of separate orders so the bill's split. Why even allow it to begin with to get to this issue where they have to figure out at the end what everybody had? But on the other hand, OP admits that they are the one that only drinks alcohol, so they have a little bit more than everybody else. And then OP also says, but it's just an extra 2 or 3 euros here or there. If the 2 or 3 euros isn't a big deal, then why is it an issue for OP to just accept a Venmo request or whatever? I mean, I can't stand going on these trips with people. I eat more than them and then they want the 2 or 3 euros back. I have to open the app and press the accept button. I can't keep living like this. By the way, did I mention I'm well off and can afford this all too? I mean, that's just kind of how it's coming off to me. The Game Girler commented, "You openly admit that you spend more than your friends as standard, you drink more, eat more, and choose more expensive things. But when it comes to paying, you think they should subsidize you by splitting evenly? Splitting the bill evenly when everyone ordered around the same amount is one thing, but it's always the one who eats the most and drinks the most who thinks an even split is fair. I'm little, so I don't eat a lot. I also don't drink. Why should I pay for someone else's meal?" Edit, seeing as everyone is saying the same thing at me, OP started out by saying he budgets higher than everyone else and drinks when others don't, and that this was something that was brought up at the time. Backtracking, saying he spends less going out doesn't add up to his original statement of having a higher spend than the others. The telling fact is it was 4 to 1. They had a tighter budget, as OP stated, and only wanted to pay for what they had. Why would they do that if OP had a lower total overall? If that was so, then splitting would lower their total. They were on a budget and they didn't want to be overcharged. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for blowing up at my roommate for changing plans suddenly because she disapproves of an unusual fraternity event? I, 21-year-old female, live in off-campus apartments with my roommate and good friend, 21-year-old female. This coming Saturday, we've made plans to go on a trip and hang out most of the day. I told her we would need to stop by this fraternity house near campus at one point for just a short while for an event I was invited to, and she said no problem. It's on the way between our other plans that day, so it worked out perfectly. Then last night, she asked what the fraternity event was, and I told her it was a dog breath competition, which I know sounds weird. This fraternity has apparently been having this contest annually for the past few years of who could endure the smell of their dog's breath. Big, friendly, like to pant the longest without gagging or breathing through mouth. A friend in the fraternity invited me this year, and I thought I'd give it a try. Note, there's nothing really wrong with the dogs. I guess they just get into gross stuff and one of them is old. So no cruelty comments, that's not my roommate's concern at all. She surprisingly was quite upset and said, "That's absolutely disgusting. Why would you even do that? I won't let you back in my car after competing in that, you'll make it reek." I said, "Huh? We already have plans the whole day." I said it was just a funny little thing I got invited to by a friend and thought I'd check it out. Besides, they have a $200 prize for first place this year, and I was told last year's winner lasted 4 minutes and 21 seconds. So I just have to smell dog breath for 4 to 5 minutes and make $200? How could I pass that up? And why would I stink after? Nothing would physically get on me except maybe the drool, and I'd wash that off. She said, "You never even had a dog growing up. You have absolutely zero chance to win and are just going to lose the entry fee and smell gross after." I'm annoyed that she wants to change up all our plans we agreed to just because she doesn't approve of what the fraternity event is. I don't think the concern that I would stink after is founded, and she's just acting out of personal disgust for something she doesn't even have to do. I ended up getting really mad and yelling at her about it, and now our plans fell through. Am I the jerk? Like Marbiter here comments, I don't think this is going to be a quick pop in, pop out type thing. I mean, especially considering the last winner was 4 minutes and 21 seconds. It's a fraternity event, so how many people are going to compete in that, and how many people are going to have 2-minute, 3-minute runs or whatever? I mean, surely at a fraternity dog breath smelling contest, there's probably going to be at least 30 people all thinking, "I got this $200 easy, 5 minutes of ranked dog breath is nothing." Marbiter themselves commented, "Soft, you're the jerk." There's no way this would be a quick stop. This sounds like an entire afternoon event. Regardless, had you been upfront with why you wanted to stop, I doubt she would have agreed. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling a parent to control her 8-year-old? I, 17-year-old male, went to the store with my grandparents for a day out of the house, and I have a medical alert service dog I bring almost everywhere with me in case of medical emergencies. I had went to the hygiene part of Walmart, and my grandparents were on the food part of the store. I was looking at soap and other things. My dog was laying in front of my legs on a traffic leash in case of fainting episodes I have. I had my back turned, and this 8 or 9-year-old child yells, "Mommy, a puppy," and runs up to me and try to touch my dog. And I told her no, and she kept doing it, and I kept telling her to stop it, and that's not how you should ask, and I told you no, I mean it. And about 3 minutes later, my legs gave out and my dog didn't alert on time because of this kid touching him, and I'm pretty sure I passed out because I was laying on the floor with my dog licking my face. I have bruises on my legs from it, and the kid's mom showed up and I told her to control her child and teach her not to pet random dogs she doesn't know because it's a good way to get attacked by a dog. And she called me a jerk and said I was overreacting when her daughter distracted a service dog, and I told her it was illegal in the state and that it was a Class C misdemeanor. Then she walked away. So, am I the jerk for telling a mother to control her kid? OP's definitely not the jerk here, and it's obviously extremely concerning what happened to OP. That said, I don't think a single thing was learned here. I think it went in one ear and right out the other for her. Faxif commented, "Not the jerk. Your physical health being negatively affected justifies you telling off the mom. It is also never a smart idea to pet random dogs, as not all dogs, regardless of if they're trained or not, allow strangers to pet them. 100% on the mom." This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to attend my best friend's wedding after she replaced me as maid of honor because I'm too fat, I'm pregnant, and asking her to pay me back for everything? I, 27-year-old female, have been best friends with Claire, 28-year-old female, since high school. When she asked me to be her maid of honor, I was thrilled and went all out to make her wedding special. I paid for the bridal shower, bachelorette party, a weekend trip, decorations, and other expenses, spending several $1,000s. While it was a lot of money for my husband and me, I wanted to make her big day perfect because she's like family to me. 2 months ago, I shared that I'm 4 months pregnant. Claire congratulated me but started acting distant afterward. She excluded me from conversations about the wedding and made passive comments about how hard it is to coordinate when people are distracted. I brushed it off, thinking it was wedding stress. A few days ago, she sat me down and told me she didn't want me in the wedding anymore. Her reason? I'm getting too fat and she doesn't want me in the pictures. She said she has a specific vision for her wedding and I no longer fit it. I was devastated. I asked if this was about my pregnancy, but she insisted it wasn't personal. She said she was replacing me as maid of honor with another friend who fit her aesthetic. I told her if I wasn't in the wedding, I wouldn't attend at all. I also handed her the receipts for everything I'd paid for and told her she or her fiancé needed to reimburse me since I'd only spent that money as her maid of honor. Claire flipped out, calling me selfish and accusing me of trying to ruin her wedding. She said it was tacky to ask for the money back and that expenses like these were my responsibility as maid of honor. I reminded her that she removed me from that role, so those expenses were no longer mine. Since then, Claire, her fiancé, and even her family have been spamming me with calls and texts. They're accusing me of being petty and overreacting because of pregnancy hormones. They're also saying that I should have just let it go and written off the money because weddings are stressful, and Claire didn't mean to hurt me. My husband has been incredibly supportive and says I did the right thing. He's furious at how Claire treated me and agrees that I shouldn't be out thousands of dollars for a wedding I'm not part of. I feel heartbroken and humiliated by someone I thought was my best friend. Still, the constant backlash has made me second-guess myself. Am I the jerk for standing up for myself and asking for reimbursement? Should I have just quietly stepped aside? I really don't think OP's the jerk here. With the way they treated OP and the things they said about OP, saying, I don't want you in the pictures, you're too fat. I think it's completely fair for OP to go nuclear with this. If I were OP, especially if they refuse to even consider giving any kind of money back, I would most likely never talk to her again, and anybody that takes her side probably too. Our next story is, am I the jerk for critiquing my partner's post about me when discussing the responses? When I first met my partner, P, I was open about my friend F being someone that I had once had a casual relationship with. F and I were just friends before, and after anything sexual occurred, and it stopped happening on its own, we didn't continue until meeting other people or anything like that. We stopped and went back to just being friends. I could tell that P wasn't super comfortable with this, but I knew they had had bad previous experiences with being cheated on, and also that trust is earned. So I hoped that in time, and with demonstrated faithfulness, this wouldn't be an issue. I didn't push to maintain a friendship without P's involvement. One day, a group of us went out for a drink, with P coming along and meeting these friends for the first time. P got along with some, but things with F were awkward. At one point, F was making some bawdy jokes. Not to me, just talking crap with the group at the other end of the table. P became very uncomfortable and spent the rest of the evening withdrawn and staring at the pub TV. I didn't speak up at the time because there were multiple convos happening and the jokes weren't directed at us at all, so I didn't think too much of it until later realizing how withdrawn P had become. After this point, my friendship with F faded. We caught up one time when I returned an item that I'd borrowed previously, which I discussed with P and they said it was okay. They didn't expect me to just drop it on F's doorstep and bail without catching up for a bit. I felt that this was positive and showed trust. However, any active friendship with F was pretty much in the past at this point. Now, years later, F reaches out asking how I'm doing, hoping I'm well. I respond in kind and F asks if I'd like to catch up. I bring it up with P before responding, letting them know that I'd like to. Thought it would be okay as we've had no issues with infidelity, and I'm sure that I've never given any signs that I would be unfaithful or anything like that. Now the jerk moment. P posted about it on a support forum specifically for people with crappy partners. Words it as, my partner suddenly wants to start hanging out with someone they used to sleep with who has only ever been incredibly rude to me. then shows me the responses, which almost all say that I'm clearly cheating, I am trash, throw me out, and now P is upset that I'm critiquing their post when I point out that the wording would make me think that someone is cheating too, and the replies might be biased. I'm open to discussing the replies, but I think it's a valid observation that affects the discussion. P asked me how I would feel if it were reversed, and I told them that I would absolutely be fine with it because I trust them. P doesn't seem to believe me. Am I the jerk for bringing this up and then critiquing the post that P made to ask for advice? I might be invalidating their feelings by doing so, but I don't know how to discuss the responses without discussing that part. So I actually think this post kind of highlights some potential problems with posting on AITA is you have to do your best to try to make sure your post and all of the details are completely unbiased. I mean, who knows? Maybe OP could be rewriting this in a way that gives us bias to go, oh, no way OP's guilty, they were way wrong with that. That said, with the way OP did write it, I would have to say, I don't think OP's the jerk. If everything is as OP wrote it, I think it is written pretty unfairly in that post. And yeah, it's kind of rephrased in a way like, my partner keeps bringing their friend named Jerk around. Are they the jerk? Well, with that info, you'd probably say, yeah, it's kind of their name. Cutiest Krista commented, not the jerk for pointing out the wording, it did make you look bad. But P's feelings are valid too, especially with trust being a touchy subject. Maybe have a calm talk with P and discuss this and about F. Our next story is, am I the jerk for yelling at my aunt after she let my parents see my kids? I'm 26-year-old male, bi, and when I was 15, I was dating one of my soccer teammates, who was an abusive POS who outed me to my homophobic parents after I worked up the nerve to leave him. They subsequently kicked me out and I survived in the streets for almost 2 years until my aunt found out about me when she came home from tour and took me in. She helped me get back in school and graduate and then get in college. I met my wife there and we have twin boys, 4-year-old male. My dad found out he was dying of cancer. He and my mom have been trying to get back in touch with me to reconcile and meet their grandkids. I've rejected them so far, even though my aunt urges me to try to reconnect. I told her no, and I didn't even want them near my boys. Me and my wife went out for our anniversary Saturday, and my aunt was watching the kids. My wife wasn't feeling well, and we decided to call it an early night, and I forgot to call my aunt before we got there. I pull up, and I notice my parents' car. Confused, we get out and go in, and there's my parents playing with my sons in the living room. To say I was furious is an understatement. I immediately asked what the heck was going on. My wife tried to calm me down to no avail. She takes the boys to the car. My parents start talking about how they just wanted to meet them, and I yell at them to get out. My aunt says I'm not being fair to them, that they've tried to apologize for what happened. I yell at her that it wasn't her place to let them and how it hurt seeing them. I yell at her about how our family basically excommunicated her when she came out. She starts crying, explaining that they just showed up at the house. She starts saying she wished she made up with her brother, my dad, and my grandparents years ago if she had the chance, and I'm being selfish knowing my dad is dying. I didn't know what to say after that and just left. My wife says I was being unfair to my aunt if they just did show up, and maybe that my aunt's right. She also thinks I shouldn't have yelled at her like that after all she did for me. Am I the jerk here? So OP's definitely not the jerk here. I mean, even if it's their parents, if OP hasn't expressly approved it, anybody watching somebody else's kids should probably call and try to get in contact and check if these adults that are dropping by are supposed to be there, should see these kids, interact with those kids. Like, it kind of is a complete failure on the aunt's part. Chilling Storm commented, your aunt should not have let your parents in to meet your children even if they showed up unannounced. Just because someone is knocking doesn't mean they get entry. She could have told them that yes, she is watching your children, but it's not for her to be making unilateral decisions. And just because she wishes she had made up with someone is no reason for her to foist that upon you. That decision is yours and yours alone. Not the jerk, and I'm sorry this happened to you. It had to be very unsettling. Pen and Page 93 commented, I think the whole they just showed up thing is bull. They just happened to invite themselves over on the one night both OP and his wife were supposed to be out all night, and it also just happened to be that Aunt Come On Give Him a Chance pushover pants is babysitting? Fishy, that's all I'm saying. This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to leave a wedding because I wore a dress that looks white under a black light? A few months ago, I attended a close friend's wedding with my husband. I wore a yellow dress. Think like Belle in Beauty of the Beast yellow, Bumblebee yellow. So yellow that I did not question if it was appropriate or not to wear to a wedding, and neither did my friends nor family. I arrive at the wedding, we have the ceremony, the cocktail hour, the dinner, and the reception. I get many compliments on the dress, and the bride even comments on how much she loves it several times. Towards the end of the reception, the venue dimmed the lights and turned on some black lights. These black lights made my dress appear more white than yellow. A member of the wedding party approached me while the black lights were on and stated that I needed to leave because my dress was white and inappropriate. I stated that the dress was yellow, but the black lights were making it appear white. The member of the wedding party stated that if I didn't leave, she would make me. I stated I'm here to celebrate my friend, repeated that the dress was yellow, and said I would not be leaving early. Bride and groom hadn't left yet, and I came from overseas. The conversation, while heated, did not have raised voices or foul language from either side, but I will say it was tense. The wedding party member walked off, and I watched as they immediately went to talk to the groom, angrily pointing in my direction. The groom shrugged and continued to dance. The next morning, I was approached by a different friend at breakfast, not in the wedding party, who stated that they heard what happened and that I should have just left when asked because it made people uncomfortable, and that I made it about me partying rather than respecting wedding etiquette. I have felt incredibly embarrassed about this since. So, am I the jerk for not leaving the wedding when asked? I don't think OP's the jerk. Anybody that's been around any kind of blacklit room knows that it changes the way colors look. Like, was the bride suddenly not wearing white and instead wearing a bright purple dress in that moment? I don't think so. Ducky818 commented, not the jerk, who checks the retire under black lights to see if it passes. Ridiculousness. I understand if it appeared white under normal lights, but come on, this was an unusual situation at the end of the reception. You are fine, and whomever approached you was completely and utterly out of line. Some people have nothing better to do than look for problems that don't exist. Our next story is, am I the jerk for answering the door in a spicy costume? So I'm 24, female, and my boyfriend has been gone for a few weeks visiting family on the other side of the world. Coincidentally, the death of one of my coworkers meant I had to work a lot more during those weeks, and I was honestly pretty miserable and pent up the whole time. The one thing keeping me going was the thought of having a wild night when he got home. My boyfriend's sister texted me and asked if she could come over when he got home. I said we both would be really tired and eager to be alone and said it would be best to wait. Then I put my phone on silent, which meant I didn't see her next text that she knew her brother, he'll find energy to say hi. When he got home, the moment he was sufficiently unpacked, I changed into a Playboy bunny suit. Then his sister knocked on the door and yelled hello. I was pretty ticked off, so I didn't put in any effort to hide my angry expression and answer the door in the outfit. I was pretty cold with her, and she got passive-aggressive before reluctantly leaving. She said it was petty and dramatic over the phone, and I just hung up, prompting some angry texts. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk here. It should have been respected when OP said, in more words than this, but essentially, don't come over. OP almost essentially texted her the version of a sock on the doorknob. Like, what did she actually expect? Correct Let7031 commented, not the jerk. You don't go over to anyone's house when you clearly were not invited. Even vampires abide by this rule. If she continues to bench about you coming to the door in your spicy costume, just tell her that if she had only barged over just a few minutes later, then you would have been happy to answer the door without the costume. She clearly does not know her brother that well. Our next story is, am I the jerk for changing my wife's book room into the kids' room? I, 35-year-old male, have been married to my wife, 32-year-old female, Ella, for 10 years. We have 2 kids, 4-year-old male and 7-year-old female. About 5 years ago, our house was finally built. Ella was the one who actually designed our house. We have a loft area above our living room that Ella said was going to be a kids area. Out of sight, out of mind, she said, for the kids' toys. Ella also suffers from depression, and a lot of the house projects she hoped would be done by now aren't. Personally, I think she's too hard on herself, and I do help as much as I can, but I also work 60 to 70 hours a week. Ella's been using the loft area as a reading area, Honestly, I'm not too sure how much she uses it. I know she reads a bit, but mostly when I see her read, it's in bed. Ella has been hard on herself lately because the kids' toys are scattered everywhere, so I decided while she was out to have the kids take everything up into the loft area and put all her stuff into her gaming room. We both have our own separate gaming rooms. The kids love this area, and in the time they've been playing up there, I've seen no toys. Ella came home and started crying, saying that was her safe haven area away from everyone and has been really short with me. She claims that she goes up there every day and now she can't just take it away from the kids. I told her she can make her gaming room into a reading room, but she states the kids go in there and it's not the same. I told her she was overreacting and this is exactly what she wanted this area for. So am I the jerk? So I don't think OP would be the jerk for doing this, thinking, oh, this is going to be a nice thing. They said they kind of wanted this before, but I do think OP is kind of the jerk after seeing their reaction for OP to kind of double down and say, oh, you're just overreacting. This is exactly what you wanted this area for. Like, clearly it's changed. Clearly she's upset about this and she's not overreacting. It's genuine feelings. The Tired Cat commented, info, does your wife work and is your youngest in school? What's the childcare split like? Also, did you discuss moving your wife's stuff before you did it? Edit, based off of OP's reply, I'm going to go with you're the jerk. Sounds like OP's wife works, handles organizing the household, and is expected to do the majority of the DIY as she designed the house. This is on top of suffering from depression. It also doesn't appear that OP discussed moving his wife's things into her gaming room before doing it. This sounds like the straw that broke the camel's back, especially as OP works 60 to 70 hours a week, so wouldn't be home to know how much she uses the room. OP, please communicate with your wife. It sounds like she needs help for her depression as well as the mental load she takes on for the family. Smooth Extent 1920 commented, I'm saying no one's the jerk here. He saw his wife was upset by the fact that the house was always messy with the kids' toys. So while she was away, he cleaned up and took them to where they had previously discussed would be the best place for this. The previous was too long ago and that space wasn't being used that way, so she got upset by this. He handled this well and took advice and communicated with her, and since she isn't using her private room as it was originally designated, so he adjusted and moved kids' stuff there. Sounds like a quality man to me. Cleans, communicates, adjusts, cares. Y'all need to really understand what a good man is. This next story is, am I the jerk for not letting my mom come to my wedding after she ignored me my whole life? I, 26-year-old male, am getting married to my fiance. Let's call her Sarah, 25-year-old female, in a few months, and I'm super excited about it. But there's one big issue with all the planning, my mom. A little background, my parents divorced when I was 8, and my mom, let's call her Layla, remarried pretty quickly after that. She married this guy Dave who had 2 kids of his own. Ever since, it's like I was no longer a priority in her life. She focused all her attention on Dave and his kids. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say she treated them way better than me. They'd go on trips, she'd go to all their sport events, and they'd get everything they wanted. Meanwhile, I felt like I was invisible. She didn't ask about my school, didn't care about my friends, or even my mental health. I started to feel like I wasn't even her kid anymore. When I turned 18, I moved out. I thought maybe she would care and try to stay in touch, but nope, she didn't. I would text her once in a while just to check in, and she would either not respond or say she was busy with Dave and his kids. I figured if she didn't care, why should I? So I just stopped trying to reach out. Fast forward to now, I'm planning my wedding and out of nowhere, my mom starts texting me like we're super close. She wants to know all the details, saying how excited she is and even saying things like, I can't wait to see you start this new chapter. Like, seriously? I haven't heard from her in years and now she expects to be front and center for my wedding? I told her straight up that I didn't want her there. I said I'm not comfortable with her coming after everything that's happened, and that if she really wants to have a relationship, we can talk about it after the wedding but not before. She started crying and saying I'm holding a grudge and that I'm her son and she deserves to be there, but I don't know how I'm supposed to just forget the fact that she ignored me my whole childhood in favor of Dave's kids. Now my family is split. Some of them think I'm right and that I shouldn't just let her show up when she never showed up for me. Others think I should just let it go, and it's just one day, and that I should let her come to the wedding to keep the peace. So, am I the jerk for not letting my mom come to my wedding after everything that happened? I think OP's not the jerk here. I think OP's feelings are pretty darn valid, and honestly, it's pretty crappy of all these people to say, oh, it's just one day, just let her show up to keep the peace. Bo058 commented, she started crying and saying I'm holding a grudge and that I'm her son and she deserves to be there. And you're her son who deserved to have a mother that cared and prioritized you at least occasionally. But here you are. You're well within your rights to hold that grudge until you feel comfortable letting her back into your life, which is not now. Others think I should just let it go. And it's just one day and that I should let her come to the wedding to keep the peace. I hate this sentiment with a passion. What peace? You would not be at peace if you had your mom at the wedding. Childhood neglect is not something you forgive and forget for most people, especially when you've come to terms with not having a relationship with your parent. She doesn't get to waltz back in to ruin what's supposed to be one of the happiest days of your life. Not the jerk. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.